you know, environmental work was just always been in my future, you know. I've always watched stuff go on around me, you know, like being a fisherman from that point of view in life, and I've always watched our salmon decline. I just got tired of it, you know. When this LNG facility popped up, it's a quarter mile away from my grandmother's house, one of our oldest village sites in our boundaries. So yeah, kind of influenced me to where I'm at today. You know, Puget Sound Energy doesn't have the proper permits to even be building to be building right now. The Puget Sound Clean Air Act, our Clean Air Agency, came through and violated them back in September, and they don't have the permit for that. They don't have the permit from the Tacoma Fire Department, and we've sent in multiple letters to the Tacoma City Council, have been to countless Tacoma City Council meetings, and the Tacoma City Council basically came out and said that Puget Sound Energy is building at their own risk, that they're fighting the tribe for a shoreline permit 200 feet from the shoreline, and won't do anything. And I did deeper research into it, and I was mad with the politics and politicians in Tacoma, so I did my research into it, and I basically put politics and natural gas, and the information that I got is that every president since Bush has literally endorsed natural gas and fracking. President Obama came out and said that fracking is safe as long as it's done right and it's monitored. And I wanted to know the research he looked at, you know, so I dug deeper, and the Secretary of State at the time, Hillary Clinton, literally went out into the world and sold fracking to the world. You know, Puget Sound Energy basically came in here and strong-armed their way into the port of Tacoma, and with along with Tote, that's right here to my right-hand side, on 2 ships that are going to run on natural gas. And you know, they're putting in export pipes all around Fife. They're not putting in commercial pipes. They're putting in commercial export pipes. So we're looking at all the EPAs that Trump has taken off, and it's basically a dumping ground for the Pacific Northwest for fossil fuels to be shipped out around the world. That's basically what they're using the Pacific Northwest for. As a Coast Salish person, we have a sacred promise to the salmon that we're to take care of them and defend them. In return, they'll come back and nurture us and nourish our bodies. You know, and that's a sacred promise that's been told through the people for thousands of years. I've experienced a lot of colonial racism from Puget Sound Energy directly and their representatives. They've came through and called me a token Indian, and colonial racism is Puget Sound Energy not consulting with the First Nation people of this land. And as the Puyallup tribe, we are the First Nation people of this land. We're standing on top of our ancestors' bones. So for them to come to tribal council and drop off a box of Krispy Kreme donuts and call that consultation, that was a joke. You know, that was racism at its finest right there. That's disregarding the tribe as the First Nation people of this land. And for their campaign, they're still campaigning against the water warriors. And Corbett Mosley is Victoria Woodward's the mayor of Tacoma. She's running for the mayor of Tacoma, but it's her campaign manager. He literally says he stands for social justice, but on his page they regularly attack Indians, you know, attack Native Americans. They came out and they said, oh, why aren't they happy just selling fireworks and having casinos? Why do they have to worry about what's happening today? They ain't got to think 7 generations ahead. What's good for today? How do I stay positive? I stay praying. And I know my ancestors are there. You know, this message that I'm delivering, it isn't my message. It's never been my message. It's been what our people have been yelling for 500 years. You know, it's just an ongoing message. You know, we recently just lost one of the greatest leaders in the indigenous community, Dennis Banks. You know, and it's about keeping that message going. The man's literally fought for our rights. He's fought for our way of life, to have our treaty rights respected. And I read a report on up in Canada that they're figuring out what to do when these treaties are violated. That's the big question. So when they find the government's in violation of these treaties, what do? You know, it's a big question that Harvard lawyers are asking. What do you do? Like, we signed over our lands in these treaties. You know, so do we get those lands back? Is that the big question? All this ceded land that we gave to the United States, to the Canadian governments as First Nation people, what do we do when the governments are in violation of this, when they're not upholding their sides, but they've been in violation and not holding up their sides ever since we've signed into them? The port's in violation right now. I could take you to different spots in the port right now to show that they're in violation. The port's never upheld their side in the lands claim settlement. We're supposed to have 200 jobs within the port of Tacoma, and we've never had that. The only thing that they came through was they gave us that $200 million and expected for the dumb drunk Indians to kill themselves off. But what we do, we used that money and invested it and grew as a tribe. Yeah. Now they can't stand that we're a superpower within the city of Tacoma. And for us to have to give $200,000 for the seat at the table on the Siberia planning committee, I mean, that was colonial racism at its finest. Nobody else had to buy a seat at the table. Nobody else had to donate money to get there. You know, did the city of Tacoma have to give up $200,000 to get a seat at the table? You know, I'm honored that the tribe did that, that they're willing for the growth of Tacoma in a better way, but we still had to buy our seat at the Siberia planning. And if nobody knows what the Siberia planning is, it's basically putting a stop to the fossil fuel industry within the port of Tacoma. And the tribe had to come forward and give $200,000 for that seat at the table to have any kind of decision making when we're the First Nation, and we got the lands claim settlement that says we're supposed to be consulted anyways on anything that has to do with the land and the environment. But Puget Sound Energy went and hired the Michaels company, the Michaels Corporation construction company, and they're the ones that worked on the Dakota Access pipeline. So they had experience in dealing with protesting and everything else and how to deal with that. They're guerrilla type construction workers. You know, they have training. A lot of them have training in the military to come work from. So down there in Fife, we took over the construction work site. There was about almost 300 people down there, and we took over the construction and stopped work for about 2 hours or so late into the night. And a couple days after that, we kept it going down there. I got on Facebook and I told them, I'm not scared of you guys' guerrilla tactics. You guys aren't going to back me up. You know, I claim warrior society for a reason within the tribe. You know, you guys aren't going to scare me with those kind of tactics. You know, and that's Puget Sound Energy. And when I asked around about Puget Sound Energy, people always, you know, come forward and explain stuff. That's how Puget Sound Energy works. They'll buy politicians out and they feel like they're bigger than the laws. You know, because how many politicians they have in their pockets. You know, you can go through any of these politicians and in the city of Tacoma. I mean, Puget Sound Energy, it might as well be democracy for sale. You know, social media literally gives you the tools that you need. If you can use it in the right way, social media gives you the tools to raise awareness and put education out there, because that's all we can do as environmentalists is make people aware of what's going on, educate people on what's going on. Because if you was to ask a normal person about liquefied natural gas or just say LNG, what is LNG? It's natural gas. Okay, why isn't it called natural gas then? Because it's liquefied, it's frozen, 260 degrees, minus 260 degrees. And that's what's sitting on our water side here is basically a time bomb that's waiting to leak. Even if it doesn't blow up or anything, it is just minor leaks onto the water. It's gonna cryogenically freeze the Salish Sea around there. Oh, that means literally that the Puyallup tribe, we'd have to up and move because it has a 2.5 mile blast zone, and that's our whole reservation boundaries within the city of Fife. That's our whole reservation boundaries. And that's what I tell people all the time, like, if this is built, the Puyallup tribe, the city was built around us. We wasn't built around the city. We've been here before the city of Tacoma. So we have to move, because if this blows up, is it gonna wipe out our reservation boundaries? Where do we go as a tribe? Do we go, oh, can we knock at Nisqually's door? Can we knock at Mokoshu's door? You think we can put our tribal admin building down there? No, we have to deal with this. We have to live here. We've lived here since time immemorial. I mean, so one of the bigger things that I'm gonna talk about right now is if anybody can do anything, it's divest, completely divest from Wells Fargo, Chase, all these other banks, and let them know why you're divesting from their banks. You know, because they fund dirty fossil fuel projects. So I'm going on a spiritual journey for about a month, and basically what happened was I was tired of seeing the game of divide and conquer amongst the people. You know, I don't really speak out against it, you know, because there's a lot of people that talk out against me and everything that I'm doing. So it kind of got to the point where I was just like, you know what, you know, it was starting to make my heart hurt. It was starting to make it ugly. If you're really seeking true peace, you have to take that vow of silence amongst the people and walk amongst the people, because our Coast Salish people back in the days, they would have took it amongst them, and the whole village would have known why they were silent. You know, that they were seeking that spiritual guidance and that healing from the ancestors. So yeah, I'm gonna go, you know, I'm gonna heal up amongst the people and take my 10-day vow of silence amongst the people, because I kind of fell into this leadership role in the people that I never asked for. You know, it kind of came to me. And so to be a real leader out here in the community, you have to be, your mind has to be right, your heart has to be right, and your spirit has to be right. So I'm going to take this amongst the people and ask for guidance from the Creator.